Ladies and gentlemen, let me start with a simple truth. Your life is not controlled by what you intend. Your life is controlled by what you do consistently. And the most powerful place consistency lies is not at noon, not at night, but in the morning, because morning is the foundation. If the foundation is weak, the building doesn't matter. If the beginning is sloppy, the ending will suffer. If you control your morning, you control your destiny. Most people wake up reactive. They check their phone before they check their purpose. They scroll before they think. They react before they decide. And then they wonder why life feels out of control. That's not bad luck. That's bad structure. See, winners don't start their day responding to the world. They start their day commanding it. Here's the truth. The morning is the seed. The day is the tree. The life is the forest. You don't wake up late and accidentally build a great future. You build it on purpose. Motivation is unreliable. Feelings are temporary. But discipline is a system. And systems don't care how you feel. When you decide, I wake up early, I think before I speak, I plan before I act, I feed my mind before I feed my emotions. You don't just change your schedule, you change your identity. Because every morning you're answering one question. Who's in charge today? Your impulses or your principles? Your distractions or your destiny? Let me say this clearly. If you don't control your morning, someone else will. Your phone will. Your fears will. Other people's agendas will. And you'll spend your life building someone else's dream while wondering why yours feels so far away. Success is not built in public moments. It's built in private mornings. The alarm goes off, no applause, no audience, just you and a decision. And that decision, repeated daily, turns into a direction. And direction over time becomes destiny. So don't wait for the perfect moment. Create it tomorrow morning. Wake up earlier than your excuses. Feed your mind before the world feeds it. Decide who you are before the day decides for you. Because when you win the morning, you don't just win the day. You win your future. And remember, if you control your morning, you control your destiny. That is not a motivational quote. That is a law. And like every law, it works whether you believe it or not. Your life today is not a result of luck, chance, or circumstances. It is the result of patterns. And the most powerful pattern in your life is how you begin your day. The morning is not just a time on the clock. The morning is a decision point. It is the moment when your future quietly asks you a question: who is in charge today? Most people answer that question without speaking. They reach for their phone, they react to messages, they consume noise before they consume direction, and before they even leave their bed, they have already surrendered control of the day, and then they wonder why life feels out of control. You cannot live a focused life with an unfocused morning. High-level results do not come from high-level wishes. They come from high-level structure. Discipline is not about being extreme. Discipline is about being intentional. It is deciding in advance how your day will begin so your emotions don't get to vote later. See, motivation is unreliable. Some days you feel it, some days you don't. But destiny is not built on feelings. Destiny is built on decisions you make even when you don't feel like making them. Every morning you are either planting seeds or planting excuses. And whatever you plant, you will harvest. You may not see the results immediately, but time will always expose what you consistently sow. If you wake up late, rushed, distracted, and mentally unprepared, you didn't just lose an hour. You lost leverage. Because the morning is where leverage is created. It is where clarity is formed. It is where confidence is built before challenges show up. Winners don't wait to see how the day goes. They decide how the day goes. They feed their mind before the world feeds it. They move their body before stress moves them. They plan their priorities before emergencies try to steal their attention. They don't wake up asking, what do I feel like doing today? They wake up asking, who do I need to become today? And that question changes everything, because identity drives behavior. When you consistently win the morning, you start seeing yourself differently. You don't just act disciplined, you become disciplined. You don't just try to be focused, you become focused. And once identity changes, behavior follows automatically. Most people are not failing because they lack talent. They are failing because they lack structure. Chaos in the morning creates chaos in life. Order in the morning creates order in destiny. Let me make this clear. If you don't control your morning, someone else will. Your phone will. Other people's demands will. Your fears will. And you will spend your day reacting instead of leading. Destiny is not something you discover one day. Destiny is something you construct daily, quietly, repeatedly, consistently. It is built when the alarm goes off and no one is watching, no applause, no recognition, just a choice, sleep or purpose, comfort or growth, reaction or control. And that choice, repeated over time, becomes direction. Direction becomes momentum. Momentum becomes results, and results become the life you call destiny. So don't wait for a breakthrough. Build a routine. Don't wait for motivation. Install discipline. Don't wait for your life to change. Change how you start your day. Because when you take control of the morning, you take control of your thoughts. When you take control of your thoughts, you take control of your actions. When you take control of your actions, you take control of your results. And when you control your results long enough, you don't just change your schedule, you change your future. If you control your morning, you control your destiny. Morning is the seed of the day. And every seed carries potential, but potential is useless without planting, watering, and protection. In the same way, every day shows up full of possibility, but what that day becomes depends on how it begins. Nothing great starts randomly. Farmers don't throw seeds on concrete and hope for a harvest. They prepare the ground first. Your morning is that ground. It is the soil where focus, discipline, confidence, and direction either grow or die. When you wake up rushed, distracted, and reactive, you are planting chaos. And chaos always grows faster than clarity. But when you wake up with intention, when you slow your mind before the world speeds it up, you are planting order. And order compounds. The mistake most people make is thinking the morning is small. They think it's just a few hours. But the morning is not measured in time, it's measured in impact. The first thoughts of the day become the lens through which everything else is seen. The first actions of the day set the standard for everything that follows. A weak morning doesn't stay in the morning. It leaks into your attitude, your decisions, your conversations, and your productivity. And a strong morning doesn't stay there either. It multiplies. It gives you emotional stability when pressure shows up. It gives you clarity when confusion tries to take over. What you plant in the morning, you harvest by the afternoon, and what you repeatedly plant in the morning, you harvest in your life. That's why distractions in the morning are so dangerous. Checking your phone before checking your purpose is like planting weeds and expecting fruit. You are allowing outside forces to decide what grows in your mind. And whatever grows in your mind eventually shows up in your behavior. The morning is when your willpower is strongest, your mind is clearest, and your discipline is most available. That is not an accident. That is an opportunity. And every opportunity unused becomes regret later. When you win the morning, you don't chase the day. The day follows you. You move with intention instead of urgency. You respond instead of react. You act from alignment, not pressure. A single good morning won't change your life, but consistent, intentional mornings will change your identity. And once your identity changes, your results have no choice but to follow. Morning is the seed of the day. Guard it, plant it well, because the harvest you want later is completely dependent on what you choose to plant when the day first begins. Discipline beats motivation because motivation is emotional, and emotions are unstable. Motivation comes and goes based on mood, energy, and circumstances. Discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline asks who you decided to be. Motivation waits for the right moment. Discipline creates the moment. Motivation says, I'll do it when I feel ready. Discipline says, I'll do it because it's required. And life rewards what is required far more than what is preferred. If success depended on motivation, only people who felt good every day would win. But the truth is, the most successful people often don't feel like doing what they do. They do it anyway. Not because they are superhuman, but because they have standards instead of moods. Motivation is like a spark. It can start a fire, but it cannot keep it burning. Discipline is the system that keeps showing up when the spark is gone. And eventually, the system outperforms inspiration every time. When you rely on motivation, you are negotiating with yourself daily. And every negotiation weakens your authority. Discipline removes negotiation. The decision is already made. There is no debate in the morning. There is no argument at the moment of action. You simply execute. Discipline is not punishment. It is self-respect in action. It is proof that you trust your future more than your comfort. Every disciplined action is a vote for the person you are becoming, even when no one is watching. Motivation is loud at the beginning and silent in the middle. Discipline is quiet, consistent, and undefeated. It doesn't care about applause. It cares about outcomes. The people who win long-term are not the ones who feel the most motivated. They are the ones who built habits strong enough to carry them on the days motivation never shows up. And those days will come. When motivation disappears, discipline remains. And whatever remains long enough wins. Input before output is a principle, not a suggestion. You cannot consistently produce at a high level if you are consuming at a low level. Whatever comes out of your life first had to go in. Your thoughts are not random. Your decisions are not accidental. They are the result of what you allow into your mind on a daily basis. If your input is confusion, distraction, and negativity, thank you, your output will be hesitation, inconsistency, and poor results. But if your input is clarity, structure, and truth, your output will reflect strength and direction. Most people want better results without better information. They want higher performance without higher standards of thinking. But output never rises above input. It only reflects it. That's why the beginning of the day matters so much. Before you speak, decide. Before you act, think. Before you give to the world, you must first invest in yourself. When you rush into output without intentional input, you are operating empty, and empty people burn out quickly. The world is constantly feeding you something: news, opinions, drama, fear, comparison. If you don't choose your input, it will be chosen for you. An unchosen input always leads to unwanted output. Strong input sharpens judgment. It stabilizes emotions. It creates confidence that isn't dependent on circumstances. When your mind is filled with the right material, your actions become decisive instead of reactive. You never rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your mental conditioning. That conditioning is formed by what you repeatedly allow into your mind. If you want better words, feed your mind better thoughts. If you want better actions, feed your mind better truth. If you want better results, start by upgrading what you consume. Input always comes before output. And when you respect that order, your life begins to produce on purpose instead of by accident. Identity is built early because the first actions of the day send a powerful message to your subconscious about who you are. Before the world labels you, before circumstances speak, your morning behavior casts the deciding vote. You don't become who you say you are. You become who you repeatedly prove yourself to be. What you do early in the day establishes when you wake up with intention, follow through on commitments, and act with discipline before pressure shows up, you are telling yourself, I am someone who keeps promises. I am someone who leads myself. And once that belief takes root, your actions begin to align automatically. But when you delay, negotiate, and break small commitments in the morning, you are also building identity. You are reinforcing the belief that comfort outranks purpose and that discipline is optional. Those beliefs don't stay small. They quietly shape every decision that follows. The mind is most impressionable at the beginning of the day. There is less noise, fewer excuses, and more clarity. That is why early actions matter so much. They don't just affect productivity, they shape self-image. And self-image is the thermostat of performance. You will never consistently outperform the identity you hold of yourself. People often try to change their lives by changing big outcomes. But identity is changed through small, repeated actions. Waking up when you said you would. Doing the hard thing first. Preparing before reacting. These are not productivity tricks. They are identity statements. Once identity is established, behavior follows without force. You don't need motivation to do what aligns with who you believe you are. You don't argue with yourself to act in integrity. You simply act. That is why winning early matters. Early wins create internal alignment. They create confidence that isn't dependent on results yet. And that confidence compounds. Identity is not built in grand moments. It is built quietly, early, and consistently. And the person you become by midday is already decided by how you showed up when the day began. Distractions decide losers because every distraction is a silent decision to delay purpose. No one plans to fail. They simply allow too many interruptions to steal their focus, and focus is the currency of achievement. Distractions are rarely dramatic. They are subtle. A notification, a message, a quick scroll, a harmless break. But each one fragments attention, and fragmented attention produces fragmented results. You can't build a powerful life with a broken focus. The problem with distractions is not the time they take, it's the direction they shift. Every distraction pulls you away from intentional action and places you back into reaction. And a reactive life will always feel out of control. Winners design environments that protect focus. Losers let their environment decide for them. When you don't guard your attention, you donate it to whatever is loudest, easiest, or most entertaining. And entertainment never builds excellence. Distractions train the mind to avoid depth. They condition you to seek comfort instead of progress. Over time, this creates impatience, inconsistency, and a dependence on stimulation rather than discipline. The most dangerous distractions appear productive. Constant checking, endless planning, excessive consuming. It feels like movement, but it produces no momentum. You stay busy while going nowhere. Focus is not about doing more. It's about doing what matters without interruption. And the ability to focus is a skill that must be protected early, before the day starts making demands. Losers are not less intelligent. They are less intentional with their attention. They allow distractions to choose their priorities, and priorities chosen by distraction always lead to regret. Control your focus, or distractions will control your outcomes. And in the long run, that decision determines who wins and who doesn't. Small morning wins create massive life results because success is not built in giant leaps. It is built in small agreements kept with yourself. The morning is where those agreements are tested first, and every small win strengthens your authority over your own life. Waking up when you said you would, making your bed, moving your body, reading a few pages, planning your day. None of these actions look impressive on their own, but they do something far more important than impress others. They build momentum. Momentum is the real advantage. When you start the day winning, even in small ways, your mind shifts into progress mode. You begin to expect completion instead of delay. Action starts to feel normal, not forced. Small wins also silence self-doubt. Confidence does not come from hype, it comes from evidence. Every small morning win is evidence that you can trust yourself. And when you trust yourself, decisions become faster, bolder, and more consistent. What looks small in the morning compounds throughout the day. A focused start leads to better choices. Better choices lead to better performance. Better performance leads to better results, and repeated results shape your future. Most people underestimate small actions because they are looking for dramatic change. But destiny doesn't respond to drama. It responds to consistency. The smallest actions done daily outperform occasional bursts of effort every time. Morning wins also raise your standards. Once you experience what it feels like to start strong, you become less tolerant of chaos, excuses, and wasted time. You don't settle as easily because you've already proven to yourself that better is possible. Massive life results are not created by extraordinary days. They are created by ordinary mornings done extraordinarily well. And when you win the morning in small ways, you quietly but powerfully set your life on a winning trajectory. So as we bring this together, remember this: your life will not change by accident. It will change by alignment. And alignment always starts at the beginning. Every morning you are given the same gift: choice. Choice to lead or to react. Choice to plant intention or excuses. Choice to build discipline or surrender to distraction. And the direction of that choice, repeated daily, becomes the direction of your life. You don't need a perfect plan. You don't need unlimited motivation. You don't need a dramatic breakthrough. You need structure. You need standards. You need a decision that the first hours of your day belong to your future, not your comfort. Control the morning, and you control your thoughts. Control your thoughts, and you control your actions. Control your actions, and you control your results. And when your results align long enough, they form what the world calls destiny. This is not about waking up early for applause. It's about waking up early for authority. Authority over your time, your focus, and your future. So tomorrow morning, don't negotiate with who you said you would become. honor it, show up, win early, and let those small disciplined choices quietly build a life that looks extraordinary from the outside. Because in the end, destiny is not decided in one moment, it is decided every morning.